We're pleased to welcome now Kelly Bennett, SuperTalk Mississippi News.
Happy Friday, guys.
Hey, what's up there, Kelly? So, start us out here. The Holly Springs Utility District. What's going on there? I just got a little bit of information from our news guys up here in the SuperTalk headquarters studios. Some sort of rolling blackouts or something going on there? They're not having constant supply of electricity is what I hear.
Yeah, this actually came to light earlier this year. There are major problems with the Holly Springs Utility District, and Chris Brown, the Public Service Commissioner, started sounding the alarm on this earlier this year. Customers frequently go for hours, sometimes a week or more with no service. I mean, the utility is not...
Did you say a week? Did you say a week?
I did say that. Yes.
Okay.
Now, they have been working on this for months now, so I'd like to think those people that were going without power for a week, I'd like to think that's not happening anymore. But today what happened is Northern District Public Service Commissioner Chris Brown announced that the PSC has selected a company called Silver Point Consulting out of Pennsylvania to conduct an independent investigation into the utility department's operations. Now, in March, Brown told us lawmakers passed a bill that allows the commission to step in. They used to didn't. Great grammar there, Cal. They didn't have the authority to step in the past, but lawmakers passed some legislation this year to help them with that.
We want to let the people in that district know we hear them and that we want to give them some relief. We want to be able to hold somebody accountable for all this failures and all the suffering that people are going through in that district. And this will give the Public Service Commission an avenue or make it where we can go in and help solve that problem.
And they're actually asking for customer feedback. And if you want to participate in these proceedings, you're being asked to contact the PSC directly. Don't try to contact Silver Point for anything. And you can do that. And Chris Brown has been really instrumental in telling these utility district customers, look, we hear you. We know what's going on. We're doing our best to try to get this fixed. But I mean, if you're not familiar with what's going on, the vegetation had been allowed to grow up over these power lines to the point that they just weren't working. The TVA came in and did a study. Other power companies, you know how we do after hurricanes, power companies come in and assist each other. Power companies didn't want to go help them out in Holly Springs because the conditions are so dangerous. Wow. I mean, it's bad.
That's incredible. So this is the power, the electricity is supplied by Holly Springs, the city. Is that correct? I mean, it's a utility company that's operated by the city. Is that right?
Correct. I believe that is correct. Yes.
But also supplies it to the county? That's what the news guys were telling me. I was trying to get my head around that.
There are some in the county that receive power. I think there are going to be others that get their power from elsewhere out in the county.
TVA probably.
Yeah, it depends on where you are.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, so I mean, this seems to be directed at Holly Springs government, the city government.
Yes. Yeah, it does.
I mean, bottom line is they're responsible.
Yes. And
Gotcha.
I would imagine there might be some lawsuits down the line. I mean, we'll see what happens. It's huge.
Yeah.
They've got a big problem there.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, so very sad story out of Summit, Mississippi, in southwest Mississippi with an officer being killed. Tell us about that.
Governor Tate Reeves asking for prayers for the family of a police officer that was killed in an officer-involved shooting in Summit on Thursday. Officer Troy Floyd was killed at a checkpoint near West Railroad Avenue. A car pulled up. Their passenger allegedly opened fire. The suspected shooter was killed during an exchange of gunfire with two Macomb officers. They received non-life-threatening injuries. Those officers have been identified as Tyler Harvey and Joey Roberts. And it's standard procedure after any officer-involved shooting for the MBI to come in and investigate. So that's what's happening now. But yeah, definitely sad to see somebody that puts their life on the line every day for the rest of us and for our safety lose their life.
Man, oh man.
Especially something as simple as a traffic stop. I mean, it's just horrible.
Totally. Man, oh man. In our thoughts and prayers, the remaining family. Golly, so sad to hear that. And my understanding from talking to people in the area is the officer was very popular as well. Very well-liked individual. And
I think he had
be
served for
sorely
20
missed.
years. So
Yeah.
a couple of decades, so I'm sure people in the community knew him.
Yeah. 2 fires are threatening homes on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. What's up there?
This was scary for a lot of coast residents. They had to be evacuated due to a couple of fires threatening their homes. Now they've been allowed to return, and the fires are said to be under control. But you got to watch out because these kind of fires, when they burn this big, and I think it was over 120 acres, they can still spark up. So I would recommend residents in the area just kind of keep an eye out. Thankfully, none of the homes actually burned in these 2 fires Thursday night. This happened in Jackson County near St. Martin. There was some damage to several fences. And of course, as you would expect in a situation like this, some residents could be seen spraying water hoses on their roofs and lawns to try to protect their property. Firefighters fought the fires near the Tala Point subdivision off Old Fort Bayou Road and in the Windsor Park area, which is just south of Tala Point. And according to EMA Director Earl Etheridge, the fires burned roughly 120 acres of woodland. So it started in the woods, basically, and started moving in and threatening these homes. It's a huge area for development. I mean, there are a ton of homes in this area. Before these 2 flames sparked, crews battled another fire. That one occurred near the Biloxi-D'Iberville city line, close to Highway 67 and north of Highway 15, and it's since been contained. We have had a lot of rain recently, but I guess it's just been so hot that conditions are ripe for these kind of big fires. So people really need to be on the lookout. And if you haven't heard this already, firefighters will tell you that something as simple as throwing a cigarette out the window, you know how a lot of people do that when they're driving, it can spark these kind of fires. So please, be safe.
Yeah. Okay, so this was predicted to be a very active hurricane year. Thus far, the state of Mississippi has escaped any of the storms that have formed up and hit the mainland and then headed back out to sea. I know Florida got lashed pretty good last weekend and then up the East Coast. Mississippi's been spared thus far, but what are we looking at? Possible depression forming up next week?
Yeah, there's a tropical wave in the Atlantic that could become a tropical depression early next week as it approaches the Lesser Antilles and Caribbean Sea. National Hurricane Center gives it a medium chance for development through the next 7 days. So if you're, along the coastal areas, you'll just want to keep an eye out. Forecast models have pretty much been in agreement that this wave could organize as it moves into a favorable environment near Puerto Rico or Hispaniola early next week. So it's really far out. In fact, forecast models beyond 5 to 7 days are less reliable. So it's really too far out to know if it'll impact the U.S. mainland at all. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And if it does become a named storm, it'll be Ernesto. And Debbie was responsible for a handful of deaths as it worked its way up the East Coast. So
big time flooding. Yeah. So the Mississippi Lottery Corporation is doling out some prizes. What about that?
Oh, this was really cool. A lucky Mississippian celebrating a big lottery win Tuesday night. They played the Mississippi Match 5 and matched all 5 numbers to hit a jackpot worth over $87,500. Nice.
Very cool. Yeah, that's really neat.
They purchased the winning ticket from Tony's 2 on Highway 30 West in New Albany. And of course, they don't identify the names of these players unless they want them released. So.
Yep, absolutely. Before we go, real quick, Joe Max Higgins from the Golden Triangle area was on talking about the significant wins that have occurred under the Reeves administration from an economic development perspective. Real quick, what about that?
Well, he said that actually Reeves has improved on Haley Barber's economic development success. And he
Yeah.
went into something called micropolitan areas. We've got 20 of them in Mississippi. Stay tuned for that story. You'll hear it on here
Yeah.
today.
It's good stuff. Yeah. Always good to talk to you, Kelly. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks a lot, guys. Happy weekend.
Same to you. Folks, we're stepping aside for a break. We're in the Element Wealth studio. Coming right back, Dan Stein, president of the Federation for American Immigration Reform at 12:05.